When I was younger, one of my favorite games to play was an Atari game. Now, you guys might not even know what Atari is, but it was called Pitfall, and you had to navigate this guy over rolling logs that were coming at him, gators in ponds, disappearing swamps, things like that. And I know sometimes when you go into a test, you can feel just as tense as probably that guy did when he's jumping over all those things. So, one way to really attack it in a good way is to talk about the pitfalls that you might face. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to make sure that you support your argument, how to nail down some basic organization, how to avoid logical fallacies, how to avoid wordiness, and finally, how to master your word choice. Pitfall number 1 is including support or examples that aren't quite specific or detailed enough. Let's take a look at some examples. First, go to the bonus materials and print out sample prompt number 3. You'll see that sample prompt number 3 discusses high school journalism and whether or not they should be censored by their administration. So if we come up with this position statement, no, high school students should not be censored under any circumstances by their administration because it will deter their growth as both human beings and writers, we've got to come up with some support. So let's take a look at an example of some weak support. This is one of the pitfalls. This is what I see a lot. I've known many high school students who don't even want to participate in the newspaper because the principal tells them what they can and cannot say. So while this talks about the general idea of censorship, it really doesn't quite relate directly to the actual prompt. Additionally, it's not specific at all. It doesn't talk about which students, it doesn't talk about what articles, or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you really work on getting specific support, specific examples. A much better example that would be specific and supportive is at my school, the administration censored a story that the newspaper was trying to run about the sexual practices of the school's students. Even though the writer had done accurate research and spent hours constructing a story, the administration's censorship discouraged his natural curiosity and right to voice it to the public. So here we've got a specific situation. We know it's a personal example because it says at my school. We know what the administration was trying to do. We know what the story was about. So this is a really great example of good support that's very specific. Pitfall number 2 is basic organization. And I know this sounds pretty familiar to you, but you wouldn't believe the number of students that just sit down, start writing, and all of a sudden they finish the 30 minutes of writing with one huge paragraph. So you want to make sure you obviously have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Those are the 3 basics to any good essay. All right, so just a reminder about introductions. You always want to start with an attention grabber or a hook. This is one of the things that is most often left out of essays here and can really help you score major points. Then you follow it up with some background information. Remember, close reading of the prompt will actually provide you with some good information to stick here. And then finally, your strong position statement, in other words, your thesis. Now, in your body paragraphs, you want to make sure that you include multiple paragraphs. Obviously, if they're looking for complexity, you want to show them that you're able to think about this in some different ways. And since each body paragraph should be devoted to just one singular idea, you're going to end up with multiple ones. Finally, you want to make sure that you always include support. So each body paragraph, no matter how many you have, needs to include a piece of support in order to kind of boost you up in that development aspect of your writing. Lastly, in your conclusion, and this is one of the things that whether it's an ACT writing test or just an essay in general in my classroom that my students really struggle with, the conclusion, I tell them the best way to attack it